Could you be killing yourself with how you're eating? According to the American Heart Association, over 2,000 Americans die of cardiovascular diseases every day. That comes out to about one death in every 40 seconds, or 13 to 14 people by the time the speech is done. A large part of this has been found to have a significant correlation to diets containing the amounts of cholesterol and saturated fats found in animal products. Everyone always says that college is the best time to make yourself the best version of you. And there's really no time like now to make the changes necessary to keep yourself healthy. The sooner you start making the necessary changes, the longer you'll live to enjoy the benefits of living a plant-based lifestyle. I've been eating a plant-based diet since about 2011. This has given me a lot of time to do quite a bit of research about the ins and outs of eating plant-based. As I got older, I started getting really concerned about my health and how my lifestyle impacted it. And I kind of made a hobby of reading arguments for and against plant-based lifestyles, and I've really come to the conclusion that it's one of the best diets you can lead. Today, we're going to be focusing on how plant-based lifestyles are benefit your heart health. So, let's start off with just some explanations of what a plant-based and an animal-based diet will look like. An animal-based diet looks like what most Americans would consider normal or healthy. It includes a high ratio of meat, dairy, eggs, and animal-based cheese. A plant-based diet has a very low ratio of any of these things, usually containing no meat at all. Plant-based diets are usually high in grains, vegetables, nuts, and beans. And looking at this, it's immediately obvious that these diets are going to look very different. However, most of the cuisine is actually really similar. Only plant-based meals usually put a twist on traditional recipes to compensate for the lack of fats and salts. Like, a lot add sesame oil or tahini to savory dishes to kind of mimic that umami flavor of meat that the dish was created around. And all of this might make someone wonder, if the cuisine is so similar, what effect on health does it really have? Well, with data taken from a 32-year nurses' health study and a 26-year Harvard professionals follow-up study, it was found that a 10% increase in animal product consumption caused a 2% increase in overall death and an 8% increase in death related to cardiovascular disease. And that same study showed that a 3% increase in plant-based diets linked to a 10% decrease in overall deaths and a 10% decrease in overall deaths and a 12% decrease to all deaths related in cardiovascular diseases. And though this study wasn't able to conclude why eating more animal products had a correlation to higher levels of death and cardiovascular diseases, many studies have pointed the finger at saturated fat and especially cholesterol. Now, the human body doesn't actually need any cholesterol because the liver produces everything we need. And taking in this extra cholesterol can actually lead to heart disease and diabetes and a couple other health problems. Now, being plant-based in a very carnivorous state, I know what all of you guys are thinking. I've heard it probably 1,000 times. You can't get the necessary protein without eating meat and cheese, or you're not healthy like this. This way of thinking is just wrong. Maintaining a variety of grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, and just general variety in your food will provide all 9 of the essential amino acids and will more often than not provide you with more than what you actually need. Now, of course, if you're like drinking Coke and eating just cheese pizza, or I guess just not, maybe just bread, then you're not going to get all the protein or nutrients you need. You have to actually have variation in your diet, plan your meals out ahead of time. But most of the time when transitioning to a plant-based diet, and in a lot of cases continuing for years or a whole lifetime being plant-based, meat substitutes like tofu or seitan will have a leading role in a person's diet. Tofu is a soy-based kind of greeny type of feel. I think it's just soy coagulant or something like that. And then seitan is wheat germ, like meat substitute that has a similar kind of grainy feel to it. And tofu has 10 grams of protein per half cup serving, and seitan has 40 grams of protein per half cup serving, so it's pretty easy to get it in if you're using those. But personally, I don't really like the taste of meat, so I don't really use any of those traditional meat substitutes, and I prefer to substitute with beans or chickpeas and starchy vegetables, and I still get around 40 to 70 grams of protein every day. So, what can the world look like without switching to a plant-based diet? 2 years ago, I actually had an uncle die in his sleep from cardiac arrest, and the doctors told my grandma he had multiple cardiovascular diseases: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and prediabetes. He wasn't even a big guy either. He liked hiking every single day. He had 4 kids he had to chase around. He was really healthy and strong, and he did have a poor diet. He mostly just ate chicken and rice for dinner, and turkey and cheese sandwiches for lunch, and like bacon or sausage with eggs for breakfast. You know, the normal, average American diet. But he was very close to me, and we spent a lot of time together, and when he died, he was only 45 years old. He left behind a lot of children and siblings who adored him. And it wasn't even bad luck. Thousands of Americans die in the same way every year. Yes, I know, everyone's body reacts differently to being packed full of all of the saturated fat and cholesterol. But for many of us, it'll just lead to an early grave, whereas making this simple change and reducing your intake of animal products can drastically reduce your risk of leaving your family and potentially give you and your family a few extra decades of memories. Did I have anything else? No. Of course, I don't expect everyone to make an extreme change overnight or anything, but just by replacing a meal or two every day with something more plant-based can greatly improve your health. And I know, for those who are athletes or fitness addicts and are concerned about your macronutrient levels like protein or carbs, just leading a more plant-based diet, I encourage you to try out some meat substitutes like tofu or seitan or Morningside meats in the frozen section. Just check your nutrition levels and be open-minded. The plant-based world is full of all kinds of ways to pack in protein, and one of my favorite parts of leading a plant-based diet is that you can allow yourself to eat like giant pile of food because it's less calorie dense than animal-based food. Like a huge stack of vegetables has maybe half the calories of like a slab of meat. And of course, if you're lazier and you don't really care about your health, but maybe you just want to give it a try, Oreos and sweet and spicy chili Doritos are completely vegan, so I guess that's an option too. In the video description, I'm actually going to put some links to my favorite recipe, and most of them are extremely easy and quick to make, but the rest are well worth the effort that you can put into them.